Hi everyone, thank you so much Professor Hu, and it's my pleasure to be here. I'm Jay, and today I will introduce research about the beyond the usability and disciplinary ecologies and the social drivers of generative AI adoption in graduate education. Okay, so my presentation will follow the 7 aspects. So let me introduce briefly. So in just a short time, like 2 or 3 years, generative AI has become a part of most university classroom and research lab, and graduate students in particular are using it daily for like writing analysis and even idea generation. And most studies so far rely on the technology accept model, which focuses on how useful or easy of technology to use and what we still don't fully understand how social influence and the disciplinary culture shape the early stage of adoption. My research looks exactly at the moment when access is open and the excitement is high and the social cues strongly guide the behavior. So the technology model TAM comes from the work of Fred Davis of 1989, and it's one of the most widely used model for understanding why people adopt a new technology, and it's focused on 2 core beliefs. The starting point of my study is a classic technology acceptance model. It tells us that people use a new tool because they think it's useful and it's easy to use. And that still holds, especially for long-term adoption. But the early moments of new technology are different. When ChatGPT and DeepSeek first appeared, most students didn't fully understand the tool yet. What they did understand what their peers and professors were doing with it. So I extend TAM, adding external influence, a construct that capture peer norms and academic expectations and the social signals inside a discipline. So the idea is simple. In the early diffusion stage, social cues help students feel safe, confident, and legitimate, and when trying generative AI, so they guide the should I try this decision long before students fully judge usefulness or ease of use. So based on the framework, my study that focus on 3 core questions. First, how do graduate students actually perceive and use generative AI during the early diffusion stage, and when the technology is new, it's like excitement high and the norms still forming? And second, how do social influence and disciplinary culture shape this process? And in other words, do students in different fields respond differently, and how much do the peers and academic communities matter? And the third, how do main constructors of TAM, usefulness, ease of use, and external influence work together to explain students' intention to adopt the generative AI? So let me first explain the design and the context of study, because this is usually where the many good questions come from. So I use a quantitative and cross-sectional survey that grounded in extended version of the TAM. The focus is not a general technology use, it is specifically the early diffusion of generative AI in graduate education. So you can see the target population was master's and doctoral students in research-intensive universities. I work with 3 leading universities in Shanghai, and all of which are ranked in global top 200. So in total, I collect 597 valid responses, and the rate almost 70% responses. So the sample spans 10 disciplines like education, engineering, and medicine, something like this. So no single field dominates in the data. And the data were collected in February 2025. The moment that when tools like DeepSeek had just entered everyday academic life. So, the study also received institutional ethics approval. And now I briefly explain how the key constructors were measured and how the analysis were carried out. The model includes classic TAM constructor of perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use and behavior intention, and I extend this by adding external influence when capture peer norms and observe use of others, and encouragement from faculty. The set items were adapted from the valid TM and generative AI adoption skills, translated into Chinese and adjusted to fit the graduate education context. So in total, there were 18 items and all measured on the 5-point Likert scale. And you can see in terms of measurement quality, the reliability was strong. You can see the Cohomba's alpha and reliability were above 0.8 for all constructors. KMO was about 0.9 is very accuracy. So to the analysis, I follow 3 steps. The first, run the descriptive statistic, and the second, I use the one-way ANOVA, and the third, use the PSS, SEM. So we can see the mean findings. When we look at the standard path coefficients, the pattern was very clear. External influence is very strong. It's the strongest predictor of behavior attention. This means that in early diffusion stage, students' decision to try generative AI were shaped more by they saw around them peer norms, conversations, visible usage, and the signals from the faculty than by their independent evaluation alone. And perceived usefulness remain a stable and significant factor which is exactly what the TM would predict. So students do adopt AI because it helps them to work faster, understand complex content, and complete academic tasks more efficiently. But the perceived use of ease of use, is still positive, but play just smaller role in a context where ChatGPT and DeepSeek are already very easy to access, and easy of use becomes more of the basic condition. So the second major finding is the disciplinary differences. When we see here is a clear and meaningful pattern, students in fields like economics and engineering report much higher levels of adoption intention, where medical students are consistently lower. The interesting part is where the difference emerge. They are strongest in perceived usefulness, external influence. In other words, what differs across the disciplinary is not whether generative AI is easy to use, because easy of use high everywhere, but whether tool is seen as appropriate and useful with the field of professional culture. For example, the medicine trends to more conservative and more evidence-driven and more sensitive to risk, accuracy, and ethics standards. So even the tools is easy to use, standards may feel uncertain about whether it fits the norm and the response of professional practice. Okay, so in contrast, economics and engineering students work in environments where the experiment modeling is already the central. So the third main finding compares is master and doctoral students. Overall, master students report higher perceived usefulness, use, external influence, all factors high. The pattern reflects that learning environments they are embedding master program tend to more coursework and based and more peer visible. Students see their classmates use generative AI, so they quickly model the behavior. The doctoral students are not more resistant, but their entry standards are different. They face stronger expectations for originally academic integrity and methodological rigor, and their work is also more individuals. So social cues for generative AI use are more scattered and less frequent. So we can see the figure shows that for SEM, the external influence is strongest predictor of adoption intention, and you can see perceived use also contributes meaningfully, and perceived ease of use, however, has much smaller direct effects. Okay, so what the study already it really shows is generative AI adoption in higher education cannot just be understand as a simple question that whether the tool is useful and easy to use. In early diffusion stage, adoption is fundamentally a social and cultural process. Students look to the peers and instructors and their discipline community decide whether the generative AI is appropriate and align with the value of their fields. This means that the university should rethink the technology diffusion. And also the policies need to account for disciplinary ecologies because each field has their own norms, like medicine, the law prioritize the risk control and economics, energy, focus on the workflow integration, something like this. Another implication is the role of faculty. Instructors are not just users, they are the norm entrepreneur. Their modeling and their transparency, even their silence, create powerful signals that shape how students behave. And institutions should recognize the faculty as a center of the AI governance. So finally, you can see the long-term implication that responsible adoption is not about teaching students to use the tool, but about developing their collaborative competence with AI. So at last, I want to briefly acknowledge the several limitations. The study captured very specific moment is the early diffusion stage of the generative AI. So, and the strong role of the social influence may change as norms stabilize or skill-based differentiation emerges. So this limitation point directly to the next steps. We need long-time research to track how adoption involves intervention studies to test the effects of faculty modeling or structure the guidance. So by identifying these boundaries, this study will become more like transparent and more useful in the future. Yeah, thank you.
We have time for some questions. Maybe I'll check the Mentimeter. We'll have you here for a while if there are any questions. I mean, we are a cozy small group, so if you've got any questions, just feel free to raise your hand. And okay, let me just. Well, it seems that everything is very clear, but I'm going to ask you, what are your plans for the next 1 year? I mean, with regards to your project. Any thoughts and any plans?
Yeah, thank you. It's a very good question. That's okay.
I think we'll get it.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Hu. This is a very good question. I think because this is very in the early stage research, I think in next stage, we will try to refine and redesign the questionnaire because with the time pass by, we can see the difference. I mean, different students, they use AI in different goals and in different stage, and everything's changed. So in the next stage, we will try to refine the questionnaire and refine the design and to figure out how the AI helps students improve their higher order thinking, how improve their cognitive skills. I think it is more important how the AI assists students to learn the knowledge and yes.
So you're expecting some behavioral changes.
Yes.
Will you be going back to some of these people that you did a study on, or would it be a different group, do you think?
I think it's a really good question because it depends on the environment. It's very hard to track the same students before, so maybe we may change.
You do a different group of students.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I may go to another environment.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, there's a question.
Sure.
Hi. Just quick clarifying questions, because you mentioned both ChatGPT and DeepSeek, right? And I think your population is coming out from China, within China.
Yes, Shanghai.
So Shanghai, right?
Yeah.
My understanding is that DeepSeek is still banned in China, I think. Sorry, not DeepSeek, the other one, ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Is banned. So how does that actually, I mean, how does that work for your sample size, your population, or was this before any kind of government, government bans on the technology?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really, really good question and really good observation. Yeah, so I collect this data is in February this year. So this is exactly when DeepSeek is popular, become very popular, that every student can access the in. So most students, they use like DeepSeek, and most domestic China's like Tong 百度这些 this AI tools. So I think their experience is grounded from these tools that the domestic. Yeah, triptych is still banned. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.